So, very warm welcome to all of you. We all know what happened in the ODI World Cup final. I don't want to get into that, it still hurts. But India is now set for a very important tour of South Africa. It has always been difficult going to South Africa, as the stats speak for themselves. I have two important wise men with me, Arunabha Sengupta, celebrated author, and Sandeep Nakai, a very well-known journalist in India, a very old friend of mine. We go back a long way, and a very warm welcome to you both. Arun, let me begin with you. This December tour begins on the 10th. So India will play three T20s, three ODIs, and two test matches. Now, the important thing here is that Rohit Sharma will lead Team India in the test series. There are going to be two test matches. Then KL Rahul will take over the ODI captaincy, and Sky will lead the T20 side. Do you feel there are too many captains in the pack?
It's a bit difficult to get our heads around it because we are not used to this sort of a situation. But at the same time, if you look at it, there is very little intersection between the three teams. They are a completely different group. There are Shreyash Iyer and say Rituraj Gaikwad. They are the people. They are the only two who are consistent among all three. And I don't think Rituraj will play the test matches unless it is unless there is some special situation. And so, if there are three separate groups, I think it makes a bit of sense to have three different managements as well.
Okay.
It might be good as well if the leaders can focus on their own format.
Sandeep, what are your thoughts? And before you begin, let me inform the viewers that you were there for the final and the semi-final leg of the ODI World Cup, up close and personal. So there have been many thoughts in your mind. But looking ahead, what are your thoughts on these three skippers?
Well, it's not a bad idea to have a different captain for a different format, but we have other problems. The selectors will probably be the same. The coaches most probably like to be the same because if we have too many coaches, as Anuba says, two different managements, then there'll be a lot of conflict of interest. And as it is, the teams don't get any acclimatization, no warm-up games, and any tour. So it's a very difficult guess as to what the captains will suddenly be given a side. The selectors will have to deal with three different captains in selecting the sides, and there will be a lot of players who would like to be rested in one format or the other. But it's a start. Let's see. Maybe the earlier format of one captain for the white ball cricket would have, as an intermittent step, would have been better. And about Sky, I saw him play the World Cup final as well, and he was really cramped by the Aussies. Of course, they were strategically they bowled very well. Uh, is he mature enough? Has he played enough cricket to be leading the Indian team? I don't know. There are going to be questions.
Okay. Arun, the most important team highlight for me has been that there is no place in the side for Ajinkya Rahane and Cheteshwar Pujara in the test side. Cheteshwar Pujara has been put out to pasture. There could be issues about the fact that he doesn't score runs fast enough, but that's a point of view which should be debated. But what about Ajinkya Rahane? The guy did so brilliantly in Australia when the mainline skipper came away, which was Virat Kohli then, and what a fantastic job Rahane did. Do you feel India has been unkind to Rahane and to Pujara to some extent?
It's a difficult question. At some point of time, we need to look ahead and bank on the next generation because Ajinkya Rahane, he has had a sequence of poor performances as well. And he was given quite a long rope. But at the same time, South Africa is one of the most difficult places to tour. And we know it. We know from our past results. And some amount of experience there, and somebody who acclimatizes quickly, has some experience there, would have been handy. That's what I'd say.
Okay. Sandeep, you agree?
Well, you forgot the role Pujara played in the tour of Australia.
Yeah,
Yes,
definitely.
there have been problems performance-wise, for both of them. But you can't judge Rahane on basis of two test matches that he was called for. I think that there's some disjoint in the selection process as well. Our selectors keep changing. The chairman comes in, he has no clue as to what the previous management was doing. But if this is the end of the road for Rahane, I don't know. If it's the end of the road for Pujara, seems most likely if he's not picked for another series very soon. I don't think he'll come back to play Test cricket. Of course, uh, with Pujara, you don't expect him to be playing the limited overs cricket. If it was a 60 over one day internationals as the World Cup started in the beginning in 1975, maybe he had a crucial role to play. But we have the depth of talent. I think they'll have to pick a new generation of players.
But
But experience
Sandeep,
experience
Sandeep,
counts a lot. South
Pujara,
Africa is a very tough tour.
yeah. Where Pujara is concerned, I have a supplementary question that because of the impact of T20 cricket, particularly on Test cricket, and particularly the way England has adapted to the so-called baseball style of play, this pressure of scoring has increased. I mean, in a day you see about 400 plus runs being scored in Test cricket in just a single day, which never used to happen earlier. At the time of Sunil Gavaskar, I mean, 200, 250 was considered a wow total in one day. So is that the additional pressure on Test players who would be coming in?
I think
Yeah.
it is generally an additional pressure, but I don't think it has ever been Pujara's role that way. The way he handled himself in Australia last time, that was ideal from the team management's point of view, and that was also appreciated. So I don't think that really played a part in this particular decision. I'd like to think the management is looking ahead and banking on the youngsters rather than falling prey to baseball. And India hasn't really gone the baseball way to the full extent. They are still like they score quickly. Everybody scores quickly. There are a lot of other options, but they've not really gone the baseball way as such.
And with Rahul Dravid at the helm of affairs, the chance of going baseball it gets eliminated.
Uh, I wouldn't say that. I mean, he used to bat in a particular way, but as a strategist, he has a lot of other ideas as well. I mean, and we saw that when he was the captain as well. He brought a lot of innovations, partly driven by Greg Chappell, but the things like getting Irfan Pathan at number 3, you don't really like correlate those with very traditional views. So
Okay. Sandeep, your thoughts?
Uh, Rahul is one of my favorite cricketers, but as a captain, when he was once leading in West Indies and we had to chase, we were leading the series 1-0 and we could have made it 2-0 last day. I don't know why he went defensive. It's a question that I've never been able to understand or get a decent answer for. Yes, he has a defensive mindset, but in the one days he's been a terrific coach. I think it's the BCC has done well to extend his tenure or get him to agree to stay until the T20 World Cup. But test matches, it also depends on the pitches that you get. A lot of them are blessed betting tracks. If the track is very flat, 400 runs should not be, the figure of 400 should not bother teams. But yes, a lot of test matches are not even lasting 5 days these days. So it is probably one of the effects of limited overs cricket, or maybe T20 more than one days.
I
Okay.
think
Yes. Arun, go ahead.
I think the Sandeep said about the test match in West Indies. It was the same at the Oval 2007. Like he just closed shop and refused to go for a win. India was ahead in the series, but then it feels a bit disappointing if that happens.
Yeah,
Right.
he was happy to win 1-0 instead of 2-0. It seemed very odd to me. Yes.
Okay, let's take a quick look at the tour records of South Africa whenever India has gone there. And I'd like to take our viewers quickly through that. So it all began with the Friendship Tour in 92, 93. So it wasn't such a friendly tour because we played 7 ODIs and 4 tests and lost both. Then 96, 97, India toured South Africa for a 3-test series. We lost 2-0. Then 2001 and 2, again three tests. South Africa won the test series 1-0. 2006 and 7, again, we did not win anything significant except that a single T20 was won by India. 2010-11, India played three tests and five ODIs. Test series was drawn one each, and South Africa won the five-match ODI series 3-2. 2013-14, again, more or less the same story. South Africa won both the Test and ODI series. Then in 2017 and 18, this is when Virat Kohli was the skipper. And South Africa did win the three-match Test series in a closely fought contest 2-1. But India won the ODI series 5-1 and also won the three-match T20 series. So this is considered to be the most successful captaincy by any skipper, which is Virat Kohli. And there are issues here that now what I want to ask both of you is, and maybe Arun can go first, that since we don't have Virat Kohli now in the white ball format, and we have him coming in only in the Test series, so do you anticipate a problem on the bouncy tracks of South Africa?
South Africa is always difficult. Like the ball not only bounces, it also moves. It's if you look at the historical records, it's the most difficult place to tour. So, and it's a very axiomatic question. If Virat Kohli is not there in a lineup, there will be problems. There will be problems. Those are very big shoes to fill in, and especially in a place like South Africa. And all the young batsmen will be tested, I think. So, South African tour without that amount of experience leaving a gaping hole, it's always a problem.
Sandeep, your comment on the Virat Kohli angle?
Well, we messed it up. The last two Test series in South Africa, India was a far superior team than their performance showed. We should have won that series. What mess up we did is, everybody saw what happened. How long can you keep pulling Virat Kohli into every format of cricket? His longevity as a Test player will depend on getting some rest. The cricket being played day in and day out, I'm glad he's not playing the T20 series that's ongoing right now. So is Rohit not playing, because if they were playing, I think they would be burnt out by the end of the series. So we'll have to live without him, but it's going to be a tough tour. Those pitches would anyway be challenging for anyone. But if you are decided to groom a new bunch of players, and we'll have to live without Virat someday or the other. So better get used to it. But yes, his absence will be felt, but the
Okay.
rest was much required. If he has to continue as a Test player or even as a one-day player, who knows? He might stay back and play another 50-over World Cup in South
Okay.
Africa the next time.
Let's take a look at the grounds where India would be playing. So the first one is Centurion, which is the Super Sport Park. It has a seating capacity of 20,000, and it has hosted 5 World Cup matches in 2003. Then we go on to Joburg, the Wanderers, and we all know what Alan Donald did to us at back in time at the Wanderers Stadium. It is a fast and bouncy track. Then we move on to Boland Park, which is a balanced wicket offering assistance to both batters and bowlers. And the pitch will help seam bowlers initially. And then we move on to St. George's Park, which is slow and turning. But Arun, when you analyze the South African side and you look at the phalanx of fast bowlers, it seems quite daunting and even frightening. You have Rabada, Ngidi, Kirkzi, then Nokia, even Klaasen with his almost 8-foot height when his arm goes up and the bounce. So what should India expect moving into places like these?
They should expect bouncy tracks, and that is always a problem in South Africa. But on the positive side, we have Bumrah back in the side, and India can give it back in kind, and that has not always been the case. Shami, if he is fit, and Bumrah, and that also I want to point out that this is the probably the first time that Rahul Dravid has a full strength test team under his since he became coach. His record as coach is good in the ODIs and T20s. He has not quite managed to uh, match the record of his predecessor Ravi Shastri in Test cricket, and because he set a excellent benchmark, which is unprecedented in Indian cricket, and that's to do with the Indian side. And we do have the full strength back. So I think if there is bounce there, India do have the firepower to give it back in kind. There is also the additional thing that there is a huge hole in this team with the absence of Rishabh Pant.
Right.
That's a loss which cannot be like explained in proper terms. It's a huge loss. He was not only the wicketkeeper batsman of the side in the Test matches. He was perhaps the best batsman during those years, for India. But apart from that, India is full strength. They have a good mix of experience and youth, and if the youngsters perform reasonably well in with the bat, I think they have a very good chance.
Sandeep, let us also remember that it was under Rahul Dravid's captaincy that India won its first ever Test match in 2006 on South African soil. So the coach is going there with that kind of knowledge, and that would be very helpful. And like you said, that he has always been one of your favorite players, including me. Your thoughts on how he might be able to channelize his experience there, one, and two, the point Arun is making that he does have a pretty excellent test side now with him.
Well, he has almost a full strength bowling side. Well, batting wise, of course, he's a bit, especially for the limited over internationals, whether T20 or one days, he's without some of the top players. But yes, as of now, I hope injury stays away. But the experience of the team having got acclimatization, what Indian players needed was some more time to a couple of pre series warm up games to acclimatize to the conditions. International tours have become less frustrating in the manner that cricketers these days play a lot more international cricket. They're used to the conditions, but nothing can prepare you for the South African pitches unless you have actually gone and played there. By the time the team gets settled, the series is halfway through. Dravid will be a very good tactician, but the batsmen will have to stand up and deliver. The bowlers, I'm sure, with the attack that India has, he has a problem of plenty now, whether to play three pace bowlers and two spinners or just go in with one spinner.
Yeah, the
Arun,
same Ashwin Jadeja problem again.
yeah. In the past, have interacted with quite a few former Test players and doing shows, so it was useful to get some of their feedback. Ashok Malhotra once told me that in Australia, while the bounce is pretty disconcerting, but it is a true bounce and you can leave the ball trusting the bounce. Now, is that possible in South Africa too?
I haven't played there. I don't know, but I can tell you that something which I learned from some of the cricketers who played there, including Deep Dasgupta, who opened the batting there sometimes, that the main problem in South Africa is that the bounce can be a bit bounce is consistent, but it can be a bit disconcerting, and at the same time the ball moves about, so you have to be it's a very difficult place to play. And if you look at, we are discussing Rahul Dravid, he has plenty of experience there, but if you look at his test record, he averages 29.71 in South Africa across 5 tours. He has not been a very successful batsman in South Africa, and the only successful batsmen for India in South Africa were in that generation was Sachin Tendulkar and to some extent VVS Lakshman, who could score off the bad balls, who could score off the good balls as well. So South Africa is a very difficult place to bat in the sense that you cannot wait for the bad balls. You have to score off the good as well, because it's a very difficult place to survive and like just wear the bowlers down and go for the runs when they're worn down and wait for the bad ones. So yeah, that is something that one needs to be aware of in South Africa.
Sandeep,
It's it's
you want
it's
to add
it's
something?
going to be it's going to be a challenge for the batsmen. They can make their reputation there. You remember Virender Sehwag as a middle order batsman went and scored a century on a debut in South Africa. Of course, he moved up the order because there was no slot left for him in the middle order. Although ideally that was the position he always wanted to play, but the batsmen have a challenge. The bounce is even. That's one thing. It can be discussed. Uh, Troublesome for the Indian batsmen who are not used to the ball coming up, going up, or and seaming as well. So a batsmen have always had problems with the ball, which does anything, whether it seams or it bounces. Having brought up on placid tracks of the subcontinent, that's always been a problem. But apparently, they've had more experience. This side maybe will need a few batsmen. That's where if we had Pujara or Rahane, uh, their experience could have mattered. But then once the team management and the selectors have decided that they've been given enough chance and the youngsters need to be tried in, uh, let's hope that the limited over series prepares them well enough for the test match as well.
But there are very few intersections between the limited overs
Yes,
and
yes,
the test
yes,
match.
yes, yes,
There-
yes. I know that.
there- So
Just a few, but we are
actually,
hoping that in the test matches we'll have the experience of Kohli and Virat. So
yeah,
that should steady
Rohit.
the Indian team. But we should win. Look at winning all the series. It's not good enough winning the limited over series and losing the
Yeah,
test
yeah.
series yet
I
again.
mean, that's the final frontier, really, because India have not won there at all anytime the Test series. So that's something that should really look at. That the entire it will be the perfect Grand Slam.
And some of the South African teams of the recent series were not as good as the teams we encountered in Australia, and we overcame them.
Yeah, and there is a lot of internal problems out there. So this is like previous series was also a very good opportunity to seal a South African series win, as you said, Sandeep. And this one is also a very good opportunity, I would say. So let's see what happens. Okay.
So before we wrap, I just want to quickly run through the coach angle. Now, there is a debate which still goes on in India, saying that there has to be a comparison with whether you want to have an overseas coach or not. And statistically, we've had four foreign coaches for India, and John Wright, Greg Chappell, who became more infamous for his spat with sort of Ganguly, Gary Kirsten, the most successful, because under him, India won the World Cup, ODI World Cup in 2011, and India was also the number one test team then in 2010. Duncan Fletcher officiated between 2011 to 15. A bit of a checkered time he had, but the larger issue here is that many experts feel that Indian players, when they become coaches, they are not fully equipped. They don't have the technical understanding, and even strategy wise, they are wanting. Now, do you gentlemen agree with that or disagree with that point of view?
Um, I personally say that BCCI should be an equal opportunity employer at this juncture. That is, whoever is the best candidate should be the coach. It doesn't matter if it is Indian or foreign. At one point of time, what you said at one point of time was probably true. I would say when India had just become very big as a cricketing nation, late 1990s, early 2000s, when a foreign coach was perhaps required. There were some quite shambolic performances under Kapil Dev and all. But there was foreign coaches were required at that time just to perhaps bring India out of the this superstar culture and some of the very Indian cultures that are there. But the point that they don't have the technical expertise or the strategic expertise, I don't think that holds for somebody like Rahul Dravid or the the team manager or even the entire coaching setup that the team management setup that India has right now. I mean, they have done a wonderful job, and it has been a process that has evolved through several such management groups. And
Okay.
I think through Ravi Shastri's tenure and Rahul Dravid's tenure, I think they are doing pretty good. And it's not a foreign coach for foreign coach's sake. I don't think that should be the way to go forward.
Sandeep?
Well, a foreign coach just for a foreign coach's sake, as he says, is not the way to go. I don't think India ever lacked cricketing expertise, especially our former cricketers, well, Sunil Gavaskar, Shastri, they've all seen that. But there was a superstar culture, and I think some of the players did not want to be, in an embarrassing situation where a test cricketer would probably question him how much cricket have you played. So it was not the number of matches that a coach had played, but it used to come in. Many coaches will tell you, many Indians who have been coaches of the national team will tell you that some of the players would question them, like, how much cricket have you played? So there was a time that bringing in a foreign coach probably was a good idea. Of course, parochialism is one allegation that Indian coaches need to avoid, and they don't want to become coaches because that allegation is occasionally thrown at Indian coaches in all sports. Cricket is no exception. And but the way cricket has developed, the number of sort of coaches and the expertise that we have right now, uh, with after Shastri is Dravid and VVS Lakshman in the waiting, and as a coach of the A side or the step-in coach of this T20 side, I don't think we really need to look outwards. But whenever you are looking for a coach, why not pick the best, whether he comes from India or he comes from abroad? An Indian
Okay.
coach also helps in the manner that he can understand the language better. Some of the youngsters who come in are not as well equipped with English or any other foreign language.
Okay, before we close, a couple of quick questions which are coming in from our viewers. So I'd like to take them. Now, this one says, we failed to get South Africa batters out in fourth innings in the last two tests. How do you see India coping with it this time? Please go ahead.
Uh, it depends on the particular match situation. I think the bowlers are perfectly equipped to do that. And we should remember that we are playing international cricket, and our opposition also has certain merit. And if their batters can hang on there and save the match, that's full credit to them. But
Okay. Sandeep, there is a
It,
question for
it,
you,
it
which
is not something. It is not something limited to South African batsmen. There are many other teams which have thwarted India in the last fourth innings.
okay,
A
okay,
couple of
okay.
times, the Indian batsmen in the fourth innings have also thwarted foreign teams.
Okay, Sandeep, there's another question which is coming in for you, which says that what are the key strengths you see in Sky's captaincy that led to his selection as the T20 team captain?
I,
Bataiye.
I'm still looking at them. I think just his batting. I think his batting has impressed them so much. He must have an intelligent mind, and that's what they've picked up. But I think it's a big punt at the moment.
There is a question which is coming from Ishant Kumar, who says, who is your number 4 in tests for the World Cup, if not Shreyas Iyer?
number 4 in Test cricket, I think
Yeah.
it's Virat Kohli, right?
Yep.
I mean, Virat Kohli, there's no way to go for some other number 4 as long as he's in the team.
Yes, yes. And there is a emotive question from Mudit Kumar, who says that Karun Nair once scored 300 runs, and after that there was no place for him in the side. Can someone solve that mystery?
No, I can't. It's very embarrassing. He did play some Test cricket after that, but he didn't replicate that success. But immediately after scoring a 300, he didn't find a place. But that's not unusual. People have scored hundreds on debut. Praveen Amre scored a century on debut against South Africa in South Africa on those pitches, and the selectors then decided not to field him. They kept him on the as the 12th man for a few matches, and then he was out. So this is our selectoral whims.
Okay. So that's a wrap. Thank you both for joining me on the show, and to our viewers for your questions. And as the South African tour will unfold, we'll come back with lots more. It is going to be a tough tour. It will test India very hard, and it's lucky in a way that we're only playing 2 test matches after the white ball series gets over. Those should also be pretty difficult on the tracks. And like we are constantly saying that India will be tested, conditions won't be conducive, and South Africa is a pretty powerful side, both batting, fielding, and as well as their bowling. So it promises to be a very interesting tour, and we will wait to see those matches begin. Thank you so much for joining us, and goodbye for now.
Thank you.